What's up, guys? Welcome to Far From Blake, and I want to say happy Friday the 13th, first and foremost. And today, we are going to be ranking all of the versions of Jason Voorhees, our favorite iconic slasher. And even if it's not your favorite iconic slasher, we're here because it's one of our favorite iconic slashers. So without further ado, we are going to rank them tier list style. Okay, so our tier list for today are GOAT, Fuego, Good, and not feeling it. I have the Jason Voorhees in randomized order, so we're not going directly in order for the movies. And before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe so you can see more Jason Voorhees content and to help this channel grow. And also, comment down below what you are doing to celebrate the Friday the 13th holiday. What movie are you watching? Well, I was going to say, what game are you playing? We don't have the video game anymore. Tell me below what you are doing. Alright, first up, we have Jason from Jason 1. I am going to go not feeling it. Not feeling it. That may or may not be a hot take. This is not the Jason we know and love. Now, I will say that, we don't get much of him. It's just a quick little cameo, jump scare at the end. So you can't hold too much against him. But, I mean, when you're going up the greats of Jason Voorhees, this one does not come to mind. Next up, we have Jason from Freddy vs. Jason. Now, I have a very, very complicated relationship with this one. For me, I grew up loving Freddy vs. Jason. That was like my favorite of the Friday the 13th movies. It's not necessarily that anymore, as I am more of a Friday the 13th purist now, but as a kid, that's the one I grew up on the most. I saw it in theaters. It's arguably the best version of Freddy in that movie, but as I go back and rewatch these Jasons, he is so zombie-like compared to the other zombies, which I guess you could say is a good thing. He's playing a zombie, but he's just so slow, and there's so many weird shots where he's barely moving his arm, he's barely has any physical, presence outside of his physical presence, which is they wanted to cast someone a lot bigger and physically imposing to compare with Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger, just from size factor alone. That was Ken Kurzinger, I believe it was. And, and I particularly don't really like the look. I don't like the hairs hanging off the head. So I'm going to go just based off nostalgia alone. But I look back on it, and you've probably heard it a million times, and it's like, what could have this movie looked like with Kane Hodder still as Jason? And I feel like this movie would have been a lot better. I think this movie was really good. I love this movie. I see there's some hate to this movie. At the end of the day, it's Freddy vs. Jason in a WWE, wrestling style movie. It's a load of fun, but Freddy kind of outshines Jason throughout this movie, character-wise and performance-wise. And I'm more of a Jason guy, so that bothers me. Next up, I have Jason X, the not human version. Well, yeah, I guess the zombie version, not Uber Jason. And for that one, that's tough, honestly. I'm gonna go good for now. Leave me room to change some things. I say that in a lot of my tier list videos, and the reason why I'm gonna go good, which is you can still look at these tiers as, S, A, B, C, and D if you want. I just thought it'd be fun to mix it up by having some different names behind it. And the reason why I'm going this route is he does put on a really solid performance as Jason. The only reason why he's not higher, really, because he has some brutal kills. I mean, the ice smash kill is iconic. And I did grow up on this one too. I have the DVD and the VHS, I think, for it as a kid. And I believe I saw this one in theaters as well. But I do not like the look of Jason. As a recurrent theme you'll hear constantly from me is I do not like the hairs hanging off from the head. I want to preface by saying this is not an appearance video, but I am taking all the factors of everything that these Jason Voorhees apply to me. This is just my opinion. A lot of it has to do with not just appearance, but overall performance, kills, aura, what movie they're in could play a factor, but it's overall everything that Jason Voorhees brings to the table. And a lot of times, if I don't like the look of it, and if I don't like the hairs hanging off the head, that is going to bring it down a notch for me. But again, it's not solely off appearance. If you would like to see a tier list off my appearance, comment down below and I'll make a video on that because that is going to be an entirely different ranking. Alright, next up, with that said, we have Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. That is with Derek Mears. And I'm going to go Fuego. I'm going to go Fuego. Now, as I said before, I do not like the look of the hairs off the head. This Jason has that. And I am overall just not a big fan of the look of Jason in this one. But Derek Mears is such an imposing force in this movie. He has to be Fuego. He is just too much of a wrecking ball this entire movie. Definitely the scariest human version of Jason, and arguably the scariest Jason in general, because he's coming right at you as a freight train, like full force running at you the whole time. And for the people that say that Jason doesn't run, you clearly haven't seen the movies, because all the human versions of Jason run. As a kid, I thought Jason didn't run because I grew up on the zombie versions of Jason more. Freddy vs. Jason, the slowest by far, and as I said earlier, I watched that version probably the most as a kid, along with Jason X and any other zombie version of Jason. I thought Jason walked like Michael Myers. He doesn't, right? The human versions always ran, and this is the one that runs at you like a freight train, so he's Fuego. Next up, I was really struggling to decide whether or not Part 5, spoilers if you've never seen this movie for some reason, skip over Part 5. Part 5 is not technically Jason. It's Roy Burns. But he plays exactly like Jason, and he has the Jason hockey mask and all that. It's not really a big... I mean, they play... I guess it's supposed to be a whodunit, but it's not like Scream, right? It's kind of... It's whatever. It's basically a Jason Voorhees movie that doesn't play as Jason. So with that said, I'm going to put Roy Burns in eh. And I'm going to put him above Freddy vs. Jason, because even though he's not technically Jason, he still plays similar to Jason. He's not bad. I actually really enjoy Part 5, which is kind of a hot take to most, I would say. People say it's trash. I'm not going to say it's like a fantastic movie. But for us Friday the 13th fans who clearly love this franchise, not every movie is that spectacular to begin with anyway on a critical standpoint. This is the most stereotypical Friday the 13th movie. And I think Roy Burns' Jason version, whatever you want to call it, is plays pretty good, pretty straight. You can tell he's not Jason though, which I guess is a good thing to show the distinct differences to some degree. The way he walks, how thin he is, and whatever. I mean, Jason always ran in the human versions. This one mainly walked from what I remember. But at the end of the day, he's nothing special. But I decided to include him because why not? Next up, we have Friday the 13th Part 2, Sackhead Jason. And I'm going to go good. I'm going to go good. And me from childhood or 5-10 years ago, whatever, would have definitely put him in not feeling it. Because he is hokey Jason. He is hillbilly Jason. He's not the same Jason we know and love. And that's kind of why I like him. He's completely different. He is nothing like the other Jasons. And I really love Friday the 13th Part 2 so much. It's my most rewatched Friday the 13th movie by far. It's the most rewatchable to me to some degree. If I'm like looking for a classic Jason movie, I'm not saying it's my favorite in the franchise. I do have a Friday the 13th ranking video. You can go check that out. I don't think my ranking has changed too much since then. It was from a year or two ago, but I might make a tier list Friday the 13th ranking video to update things, maybe a little bit, because I've changed as a channel since then slightly. But I already have a ranking video of that, and that's why I'm doing a Jason video right now. But yeah, Sackhead Jason I think is really fun. He's charming in his own way. I can't put him as GOAT because we love the hockey mask Jason. And it's not even that he doesn't have a hockey mask, right? Because, you know, whatchamacallit, 2009 Jason, Sackhead Jason, was super medicine, and I really like that version of him too. But I think Part 2, it fits for the movie it's in. It's just Jason before we actually knew he was Jason, right? It's just they were experimenting. They didn't know what they were doing before they accidentally stumbled upon the hockey mask in part 3. Okay, speaking of Friday the 13th part 3, we have Friday the 13th part 3, 3D Jason. I am struggling to decide where I want to put this one because as iconic as he is, Richard Brooker, I believe the name is, he I'm not as big of a fan of him as everyone else is, even though he's the first one to don the hockey mask. He's the template. I don't think he's bad, but I do think his body and all that stuff, it's a little off to me the way it's played. It does fit the movie. It feels very Scooby-Doo-esque the way it's portrayed throughout the movie and fought and but he does have the iconic Jason mask, and I think it's one of the best Jason masks. Just the way his neck and all that stuff, not super crazy about. But this is not an appearance video; it's performance and pure will. So I gotta put it at least good. And do I want to put it above part 2? I honestly don't. I honestly don't. And that's kind of crazy to say. I mean, part 2, I'm trying not to make this about movies. Now, granted, if part 2 Jason was in part 3, would it work as much? I don't know. And that's the tough part. I mean, I'd rather see Hockey Jason, but you don't really see him until the end of the movie, spending the whole movie hiding behind barns. I will say, though, the version of Jason when he reveals his mask in that barn shot at the very end, dream sequence, whatever you want to call it, that is something that really scared me as a kid. That's something I do have nostalgia for. So I have a lot of nostalgia for this version of Jason based off the mask reveal alone. That used to freak me out as a kid. I am more of a Halloween purist when it comes to like childhood nostalgia. I have seen the Friday movies as a kid, but they don't distinctly they're not in my memory as well. But I do remember that, and I remember it giving me this weird feeling in my like chest or stomach where I'm like, oh, like this is scary for some reason. So for that alone, that's probably a good enough reason to put it above part 2. But I think part 2 Jason's just is kind of funny, to be honest with you. I have a good time with it. So I'm going to leave them there for now. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. Next up, we have Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, Jason Voorhees. And I'm going to put him in Fuego right behind 2009 off the top of my head. Again, that might be another hot take. I'm not as big on the human Jasons. I grew up more on the zombie Jasons. When it comes to human Jasons, these are clearly the best, 2009 and Part 4. I like the mask and the look of Part 4 much more than 2009. I kind of wish the red line on his head wasn't like on an angle. I don't know what that's about. That's the funny thing about the Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees movies is that Jason looks different in every single movie. It's really bizarre how that happens. They just come up with a brand new mask every time, but it's also the charm of this franchise is they don't take themselves too serious. But R.I.P. Ted White, he passed away just a couple years ago, I believe. He's definitely one of the GOATs, even though I don't have him in the GOAT category. He's one of the best, but I want to reserve that slot for less people, right? And when it comes to this, I could almost put him above 2009 just because I'd probably rather see that version of Jason on screen compared to the way 2009 looks. But 2009 is more of the freight train that I think Part 4 came off as in the 1980s. That's kind of the thing that 2009 drew from. They were probably more inspired by Ted White's performance than Richard Brooker's, in my opinion. Okay, next up we have CJ Graham's Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason. Okay, this one is an easy GOAT for me. Not just because of movie alone. Granted, movie plays a huge factor, obviously. This is one of the best Friday the 13th movies in the franchise, without a doubt. Most people agree this is a top 3 Friday the 13th movie. I do see some slack for this version of Jason. I don't get it. I think this is the coolest zombie Jason by far. I love the utility belt. See, a lot of people critique that utility belt. I think it's kind of cool. I just think it's a simple look. I like the mask. I like the way it fits on his face. We get no hair on the head, which is what I like. I like the bald version of Jason. I like the details of the gash in the head from part 4. I just think the way he plays him is really cool and menacing. The way he walks and just gets to the money. Part 6 Jason is a goat. Next up, we have Kane Hodder's Part 7 Jason, the New Blood. I am also going to put it in goat. I'm going to put it in goat. Here's the theme. As I said, I like the zombie versions of Jason, and I think this is probably the best Kane Hodder Jason. Not just because of the look. The look is that a lot of people's favorite look of Jason, and because the details and the stuff on the back, and yes, it looks completely different part 6. It doesn't really make sense. None of these Jasons look similar to each other. That's the funny thing. Again, this is not a look of Jason, but I like the personality that Kane Hodder brings to Jason with the huffing and puffing and breathing. Some people don't like that. I think it adds like a little gravitas to Jason where he's coming in saying like, yeah, I'm here to mess you up, and you don't have nothing to do about it. He's a force, and he just has mad aura as Jason Kane Hodder. And I think in part 7, because of the look, because of the style, and just the way he performs, it's like it doesn't feel like just a silent killer in this version of Jason. It feels like someone who's, ready to impose his will on all the counselors and people in the woods that come to his stopping grounds. Next up, we have Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason, Going to Manhattan. This is not a good movie. It's one of my least favorite movies in the franchise. I don't think it's my last, but it's towards the bottom. This movie is very, very boring. But I think Jason is pretty cool in the movie. I don't think the look is bad. Not as good as Part 6, right? Some people don't like the slimy look. That's probably the critique of it, is that he's like wet, soaking wet the whole movie. It's just like he came out of the water and he just never got a towel and dried off, essentially. And that's like, it's odd, right? But I like the black costume. I think it's slick. I think the mask looks pretty good in this movie. It's completely different from part 7. He's like back to looking, I guess you could say, normal in Jason's terms. So I think he's pretty good. I don't think he's a goat. Where do I want to put him? I'm going to put him in Fuego. Do I want to put him above 09 or part 4? I'm not sure. I think just the boxing scene alone makes me want to put him higher. So I might put him higher. Again, this is not a movie ranking. This is just performance, and Kane Hodder Jason is not the problem in part 8. It is just a boring, slow movie that markets itself as we're taking Manhattan, but we're actually taking a boat ride to Manhattan, and it's supposedly really more in Vancouver, is what they say. But you get the iconic shot of Jason Voorhees in Manhattan, in New York City, which probably cost a lot of money just to get that one little shot that they marketed the whole movie around. Him walking down the street of New York and, kicking that guy's radio, and those guys trying to threaten him, and all he does is lift up his mask and say, yeah, buddy, you don't want none of this. That's dope, right? The way Jason goes out, not dope. And just thinking about that and the reveal, like how he dies and his face and him turn into a baby. Again, this is not a ranking of the movie, and if I take into account that final way he's defeated, obviously it'd be towards the bottom. That's probably the worst way Jason loses. But throughout the entire movie, Jason is Fuego. He's great. He is very, very good. I enjoy this Jason. So yeah, it's a shame he wasn't in a better movie. But we're moving on now, and we're moving on to Jason Goes to Hell, Jason. And I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm going to go not feeling it. And I'm going to put him below, whatchamacallit? Human baby kid Jason, whatever you want, dream sequence Jason. Actually, am I? No, I probably shouldn't do that. I'm going to put him above him because at least it's Jason, kinda? Not really. I don't know. So we don't get to see much of him, but what we do see of him is Not great in my opinion. He is grunting the entire movie, whatever that's about, and the look of Jason. I hear different opinions. I've always heard people say they didn't like it for the longest time, but it feels like there's a resurgence of people saying it's really cool, unique, and blah blah blah. I did grow up on this Jason too. Like I grew up watching this movie, and I remember saying, "What is this?" my entire life. But Jason's in this movie for a little bit, and he kind of just gets messed up the entire movie. He's not as much of a threat to some degree. His demons, I guess you could say, are the entity that's almost like Evil Dead. I don't know. I actually think this movie isn't that bad as an adult. I again have some nostalgia for it, but I think if you don't look at it as a Friday the 13th movie, you just look at it as this weird, I don't know, body taking movie. I don't. If you just have fun with it and don't take it too serious, it's pretty entertaining. But Jason in this movie, he's not my favorite at all. I do not like him. I do not like the look, and I do not like what he brings to the table. I don't know what this is. Last but not least, we are on to Jason X Uber Jason version. And I am going to put Uber Jason in Fuego. I'm going to put him in Fuego, and I'm not going to lie, I am going to put him right at the top of Fuego. Okay, so I can already hear the comments screaming at me saying, "What are you talking about? This guy's an idiot," and I'm going to get so much hate for that. Hear me out. I want to say, again, I have nostalgia for Jason X. I saw this one in theaters. I always thought as a kid, when Jason becomes Uber Jason and his costume is first revealed, he was so cool. I thought he was so cool. Aura wasn't a word that was invented at that time, or maybe it was, I don't know. But, it's a popular thing to say. But the embodiment of Aura when he walks through and everyone's looking at him and that robot chick's like, I think I could take him, and just walks up there and just gets completely destroyed in seconds, right? That was sick to me as a kid. I know people say it's Power Rangers esque, the way it's all set up and the cinematography and esque. Here's the thing. I'm a big Power Rangers guy, so that doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. And that was around the time where Power Rangers Lost Galaxy came out, or Power Rangers in Space. Right after that, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy is one of my favorites, so I'm completely cool with it. I do not care. So yeah, Jason X to me is pretty cool. He deserves to be Fuego. He has some iconic moments, iconic kills, and he's by far the most threatening Jason in the sense of how do you beat this guy? And I would have no problems with seeing more of him. I wanted to see more of him when he landed in the lake and this and that. Didn't understand as a kid that it was a one-off, but whatever. He's Fuego. I don't care what you have to say. It's my opinion, okay? You can leave a comment down below where you would rank him or these other people. But this is the final slot of my tier list. And let me see if there's anything I want to change off the top of my head. So I have two GOATs. Jason Lives, New Blood Jason, CJ Graham and Kane Hodder's best performance. Again, obviously I like Zombie Jason. Uber Jason, pretty cool. You have 2009, Friday Part 8, plus Friday Part 4 in the Fuegos. Yeah, I like my list. I don't think there's really much I would change. It's pretty much boils down to is that I like all of these to some degree. Even the ones in my good category where they're a little lower. I'm sure I'll get Friday Part 3 hate. And I even, like I said, I like Part 5, Roy Burns. I like the movie at least. It's really all the way down here, all these guys that are not good for me. But all of them up there, from good and up, I love all of them. I love all the movies, all 12 of them. I pretty much love all the movies. My bottom two I don't love as much. You can check out my ranking. But again, these are my GOATs. And that's my opinion. Alright, so that's it. Leave a comment down below your ranking of the Jason Voorhees iterations. And I'm going to put a link to this tier list in my bio so you can make your own tier list. And you can at me on Twitter /X at FarFromBlake and show me what your ranking is. So I made it so we can be interactive together and we can discuss our different opinions. So if you have issues with mine, you can make your own tier list and you can send it to me on X/Twitter and you can prove to me what's better about your ranking. Again, happy Friday the 13th. I hope you enjoy it. I have to work overtime on Friday the 13th, so I'm not sure when I will get to full on celebrate. So I recorded this video in advance so you guys can have something to enjoy on the great holiday. Like, comment, and subscribe to see more Friday the 13th content in the future. I'm out.